put a 4 and an A and a W, and I've been sipping on soot.
Three of my cards got ice on the pluses. Shit came from the trenches. You speak on my name and it came with the pressure. We started destruction. I threw the big 10 way up from my straight. The global express. I took a little nigga, don't come with no message. Cause we killed him.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another CCRL 250 versus 450 MXGP showdown. Today we are at Glen, Helen, and not only is this track brutal with the massive elevation changes, the long 2-minute plus laps where consistency is super key, especially going down the crazy rough downhills that the Poboso physics really don't like. Obviously being how wide open of a track it is with the steep hills, the long straightaways, being on a 250 was a very big disadvantage in this race. But on top of all of that, the main thing that I wanted to mention on this video is for some reason I decided to do this race even though I had a 101 degree fever and I was officially diagnosed with flu B, high grade fever. I mean, this is a moment where I literally was sweating. Like anytime I would go down toward the end of the race, because believe me, I was getting some brain fog. You know, I probably shouldn't have been racing, just blue light absolutely blaring into my brain while my brain is like trying not to melt, and getting some brain fog crashing, and I was literally having to like wipe my forehead sweat because I was actually sweating because I was running so hot. So yeah, obviously start, huge disadvantage. The start is just a gigantic freeway, so anybody on a 450, they were already like 5 bike lengths ahead of me, so was starting from not a good spot, and you know, we just had to try and stay focused for 20 plus 2. Again, honestly, probably not the smartest idea, but I think it somehow went better than I expected, so let's dive in.
One eternity later.
So yeah, obviously that first lap was complete chaos. As you saw, I went down on the first hill a couple times, and then I went down on the second hill again, and literally had to push my bike halfway up the entire hill. And by the time I crossed the finish, as you can see in the top left of the screen, I am 42 seconds behind the leader on lap 1, baby. Off to a great start, and yeah, so that's how bad the first lap went, and from here, now it's just a massive claw to even try and stay in the race and get a decent finish. So let's see what we can do. Alright guys, as you can see, the brain fade is starting to kick in very clearly. We've just made some clear just lapses of judgment, and I mean even just the panic taunt, like my thumb, like I didn't mean to click the trick button. I was just like, my hands were so tense and I was obviously sweating. So I accidentally clicked the trick button, which is clicking down on my left stick. So it's the same stick that I like steer with, you know? And just little stuff. I'm not flowing as much, you can tell. It's like I'm getting clammy and I'm just not being as smooth anymore. And on this track, that comes up to bite you so much worse than in 99% of the tracks in MX bikes. This track in particular, if you're not being smooth with your inputs and you're not really thinking about what you're doing, you're just going ass over elbows like in the blink of an eye. So we really got to hold on to this one and just try and see what we can get out of it. Now, as we cross the finish here for the white flag, you might have seen the big group of people behind me on the mini-map, as you can see right there on the right. Those were actually the leaders, so I was one of the last people that ended up not getting lapped. And because of this, my break in between motos was actually way shorter. So, firstly, obviously, we sent it down the hill trying to get around Jerry. It was a mistake. I did not have the mental brain power to make that corner, to keep her in between the lines there and not go down. And yeah, so we're back here. We're 15th, 16th, and that's about as high as we're going to make it. I'd like to say I think we did pretty good considering all of the factors that were against us here in this moto. The fever, the 250, the bad start, being 40 seconds after the first lap. I mean, just like battling with these guys, as I'm sure you saw, especially like after the Talladega corner and like going up that hill, it was like night and day difference how much they would gain on me going up that hill. So I really had to try and hit the corners well so that I could maintain that gap and try and stay in front of the 450 guys. But look, all in all, P15, I'll take it. And as I said, because we were one of the last few that didn't get lapped, the break in between motos is usually about 3 minutes. So by the time I crossed the finish line here, they were like loading us into the gates again. And I gave it a shot, honestly, but I was just running too hot. It wasn't a good idea. So I got a bad start, was already having brain fog like 2 corners in, and decided to call it a race. So that's going to be it for us here at Glen, Helen. But thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.